So, welcome to Sports with Bros. Today, we have a very special guest from Australia, Mr. Charbel, and along with Ranjay is also with us as usual. So, Charbel, let's get it started straight away. T20 champions are Australia. World Cup is happening this year. So, how do you see Australian side faring out? Because I think they have massive hitters in the middle. Stoinis, Mitchell Marsh, Maxwell. That's where the engine room is. What's your take? Will Australia be able to defend the title according to you? They have all the resources, I feel.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a chance, especially we're at home and we've been good in T20s the last couple of years. I was actually doing a little bit of analysis last week and saying, if we can, let's try get Tim David into the team as well because he's eligible to play for Australia. So if we could get him in, that makes us even more powerful. Possibly at the expense of Steve Smith. I think his role in the T20 team is not very clear at the moment. As good a player as he is, great player, but not 100% suited to the T20 format. And that shows when you can't really nail a position for him in the team. So I think that's maybe one piece of the puzzle that's missing, but everything else looks pretty solid. Maybe as well, Aaron Finch's form at the top is another thing, the team would want to get right. But all in all, it looks okay.
One more thing, Charbel, I want to ask you is that Australia have three great seamers like Mitchell Stark, Pat Cummins, and Josh Hazelwood. They did it
Yeah.
in the last World Cup. They are doing game after game in Test cricket. Oof. But is there any good backup also for them? Because those Scott Boland did exceptional in the Ashes. But in T20s, do you think you have enough backup if one of them breaks down?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think our pace bowling stocks are pretty good. You got Jai Richardson, who's also a backup, who's also a very handy bowler. There's also Kane Richardson. I don't know if Kane Richardson has really nailed the international format as such, but he's thereabouts. You've got players like Riley Meredith and Nathan Ellis that are continuing to improve. So you've got some pace bowling back up there. But I agree with you. I think if we can keep those three frontline quicks fit, that's going to put us in a good stead. And then you've got, Mitch Marsh bowling option, Glenn Maxwell, Adam Zampa as well. So there's some good options there for us.
Absolutely. So, Ranjay, anything you want to ask regarding Australian side?
Yes, I have many questions. I am starting from Aaron Finch point. There are many discussions going on his captaincy and his batting form. So, do you think any new option will Australia choose before World Cup or in India series, or Aaron Finch is only the captain choice for Australia? What do
I
you
don't
think?
think they'll. I don't think they'll change the captain this close to the tournament. I can't see that happening. Um, I think they'll let Finch run with the team before the tournament and then during the tournament, and hopefully he can finish on a high. I think that'll be the perfect way to end his T20 career if he wins it with a World Cup. If he were to go out that way, so I think it's just too soon now to make a change that big. Even though we do have maybe a candidate or two to take over captaincy, I think it's too close to the World Cup. If you wanted to do it, you should have done it after the last World Cup.
Hmm. One question. Okay, Kapil bhai, you will ask, then I will ask my question because I have many questions from
Yeah.
Kapil bhai. Ask. Yeah.
So, hello, Cricblog. Hi, sir.
Hello. Hello. How
So,
are
so
you?
my, I'm fine, sir. So, my question is, what do you think? Who is the actual perfect, perfect change for Mitchell Stark in future? So, do you think like Daniel James or Jason Barrett?
A perfect replacement for Stark in the future?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a very hard question because he's hard to replace. His experience. So um, I think if you're looking for a power play specialist, Berendorf is a good option, but I think he's a bit unproven at the death. Um, so Mitchell Stark's replacement might not necessarily be a left armer, if that makes sense, because I think our left arm options. Daniel Sams, I was impressed with him at the last IPL. I think he bounced back very well. but at the international level, he hasn't shown it 100% yet. So it's still early to say whether he can replace Stark. I think bowlers like Riley Meredith, Nathan Ellis, and Jai Richardson, they're the three, I think, up and coming that are going to take Australia forward, hopefully, in the future in white ball cricket. Daniel Sams needs to improve at international level, but there's some good signs there. But it's still early days for him.
One question for T20 World Cup for Australia. You should go with Team David in the upcoming ICC Men's T20 World Cup
Yes.
2020 for Australia.
I was saying that before you came on. I was telling the guys, like, what, they asked, how's the Australian team looking? And I'm like, it's looking pretty good. But then you've got one piece of the puzzle. I think it's Steve Smith's role in the team. It's pretty unclear. He's not your traditional T20 player. And I think T20 cricket is moving away from the anchor kind of player now. You're looking at a power game, and Tim David can add a lot of depth and power to this team. I think Australia are working at it. I think there are a few things that he has to be eligible for. I'm not 100% sure what they are, but if we can get him in the team, it'll be huge.
No, Charbel, I want to take you to red ball cricket a bit. Australia are doing exceptionally well. They won not only hearts but series in Pakistan. I think that was a challenging talk, but
Yeah.
their bowlers came out on top and their batters were exceptional. Sri Lanka also they did very well in the first test, though Sri
Yep.
Lanka bounced back in the second game. So red ball team is doing exceptionally well. Once if David Warner leaves, who do you think are the best two openers? Because that is the only challenge I see in Australian red ball side.
I agree with you. That's a tough one, and I still don't think we've answered it fully. I worry about that. But look, I go back to that Sri Lanka series. It was disappointing that we didn't win it. I think that could cost us a World Test Championship final spot. Fingers crossed we get there. But few players in domestic cricket I'll keep a close eye on this season. There's Bryce Street from Queensland. He's a very traditional opening batsman, very solid. But I think, we're going to have to find some players to put their hands up this season because, Warner in his mid-30s, Kawaja as well, as good as he's going. So we don't really have an answer yet, and that's a bit concerning. So it's a big season coming up.
Is Will Bukowski back in the mix now? He played well in one game that he got.
He's incredible, but the problem is I think he's 25 years of age or thereabouts. He's had 10 concussions. So he's had so many head injuries that they're really managing him now. And if he has one more, then it might be career over. So, I put him top of the list in terms of candidates and prospects to come in and be a long-term test opener. But, what's his mental game like against the short ball? Because if he knows if he gets hit there again, he might not play again because he's had so many injuries. Head concussions at such a young age.
One more question from Red Ball Cricket. Chris Green, he performed brilliantly in the last series of Australia. But when he
Cameron
started,
Green.
Cameron Green?
Sorry,
Cameron Green.
Ranjay Bhai, Cameron Green.
Green was a Sydney Thunder spinner. I forgot the name.
That's okay.
Brilliant in Test cricket. So, any point on his career, travel, any story, any unknown fact you want to add?
Oh, I love Cameron Green. Early in the Ashes last year, he was struggling a bit with the bat. And there was some calls from some supporters to replace him with Mitchell Marsh. I was having none of that. I thought he's too good a prospect to drop after just a couple of tests. And you've seen that. You've seen already how handy he is to the Australian team to bat at 6 and then also bowl some very handy overs as well. He's got such potential to be a great all-rounder for Australia. His first-class record is insane. And he's got all the tools to do well in Test cricket as well. So he's one of my favourite players at the moment because we've been looking for a really solid all-rounder for a while, and I think he can be the player.
Taking red ball cricket ahead, Nathan Lyon looks one of the best off spinners to have ever played the game. There is no doubt about it. He was accompanied by Mitchell Swepson in Pakistan as well in Sri Lanka. He looked good in some innings, not so
Yep.
good in others.
Yep.
So, would you prefer to take him to India in the upcoming Test series, which will happen, or
Is
do
that
you have any other options? So maybe Adam Zampa can come in and play 4 to 5 days. What's your take? Or is he the best available as per you?
Nathan Lyon you're talking about, or Swepson?
Swepson. Nathan Lyon though will play. We are quite sure, and
Yeah,
he
yeah, yeah,
should play.
yeah.
So along with him, who should pair with him? I just want to ask.
I'd give a run to Ashton Agar in India. I think he'd be a
Okay.
good option. Late order batter, good finger spinner. I'd also take Matt Kuhneman. He's also a left arm spinner. Very good first class record for Queensland. He doesn't bowl on very helpful pitches a lot of the time, but still can hold up an end and take wickets. And I think Kuhneman bowls quite flat and accurately, and I think that's going to work very well in India if you've got that asset. So I have a feeling Australia might opt for finger spinners at the start of the India series,
Yes.
because Swepson hasn't quite nailed it yet. I think he's got potential too. But I think Australia might start with finger spinners, and I think those are the two guys, along with Nathan Lyon, who you might go with India. Adam Zampa just hasn't played first class cricket for years.
Yes.
Yeah, he hasn't played
Yes.
first class cricket. I think he averages about 48 with the ball from memory, so he hasn't nailed that format of the game, and he's predominantly a white ball bowler now. So, yeah,
And a very good white ball bowler because I think he
100%.
takes
Yeah,
on the challenges brilliantly. So now
he's
I
awesome.
take you, yeah, from Australian cricket, I now move you to bit towards Asian cricket. Asia Cup is about to begin in coming
Yeah.
week. So what's your take? Again, Australia won the World Cup last year in these conditions. Two non-Asian sides went to the finals, Australia
Mm.
and New Zealand. They were able to assess the conditions better. So what's your take on this Asia Cup? Who are the favorites according to you?
I can't go past India as favourites. I think they look good. I was running some numbers a couple of weeks ago about just how well India have changed their approach in T20 cricket. They've moved away from just trying to focus on anchor at the top and sort of accelerate at the end. There's a real power game right throughout the innings. Even without Bumrah, that's a big loss. And even Harshal Patel. I think Pakistan's loss of Shaheen Shah Afridi is huge for them. He's a fantastic bowler. He's the kind of bowler that can make those big breakthroughs in the power play as we saw last year. I'd like to see India's approach in this tournament. Can they really play with a lot of fearlessness? KL Rahul's form is a concern, but I think they've got enough depth in there to win this tournament. I think they're the favourites to win it. But I'd like to see how Pakistan go. I'd like to see how Sri Lanka and Afghanistan go as well. They've got potential, both those two teams, particularly in those conditions. So we'll see how that happens. We'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good tournament.
Travel, something on Virat Kohli, his form.
Yeah, for me, it's class is permanent. I think he'll come good. He's a brilliant player. Everyone goes through a bit of a tough time. He hasn't had it easy, but all it takes is one or two good innings and he's back. He's a legend, and he'll be all right.
Oh, absolutely agree with you. Ranjay, please, can you add Vishali, ma'am? I think she.
Yes, I am.
So, Chad, so she is one
Just
of matlab, backbones of our channel who has just joined.
Hello.
Hi,
So,
Chava.
so
Hi, hi, how are you? How are you doing?
Good, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for asking. I was listening to your conversation and pretty happy with how you have actually told about KL Rahul. So I would like to ask, according to you, whom do you see the openers for India? Who's the best suitable openers in T20, especially when we have experimented so much and given the
Yeah.
option to so many. So what do you think
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it?
I'm thinking it's talent-wise, KL Rahul is in your best team. If he steps up, like he's one of the most talented players in the world. But for me, with KL, he doesn't always show it. He always sort of plays within himself and says, okay, I'm going to take it easy and try bat deep. I don't want to get out kind of thing, where he's got all the shots in the book. When he lets go of the shackles, He's such a dangerous player, and India are a better team because of it. So I think with the new approach that India have got at the moment, he'll open with Rohit. I think that's the best combination right now.
Yeah, you rightly said he likes to be in his shell. So if he
Yeah,
breaks that shell, that will be amazing to see. That's right.
and just
And
yeah,
I
just
really,
quietly as well. Just one thing in this new style that India are playing in, he can't play in his shell because there's players waiting in the wings that are playing at a terrific strike rate. You know, Deepak Hooda this year's hitting at 160. Sanju Samson's pretty similar. These guys are knocking on the door, so KL Rahul's got to step up.
that's right. That's definitely right. Because if you are playing with a positive approach, it has to start, especially with the openers. Otherwise,
Yeah,
it will be very difficult for the players to come to buckle up. And also like to ask you about Aaron Finch's form, especially. So
yeah.
we have seen in the recent past, he has actually not been able to perform to what he used to. So him being the captain, he has to lead by the example, and especially getting out on the similar kind of deliveries. So how do you see that thing?
Yeah. I was answering this earlier. Like, do you replace Aaron Finch as a batsman and captain? I said it's too close now to the World Cup to make that decision. You might have done it a year ago after we won the last World Cup to say, okay, thanks, Aaron. You know, we'll move on now. But now that he's there, he'll be doing a lot of work behind the scenes, making sure he doesn't get that front pad too far across for that LBW, particularly against the left arm angle. Um, what was concerning for me about Aaron as well, he's very late on some of the deliveries too at times. You know, he was very late into his shots and the ball was at him before he could react. So as long as he'll be working hard behind the scenes, there's going to be some games. I think he's got Zimbabwe next week and then New Zealand in 1 days and then some T20s. Preparation is crucial. If he can find form before the World Cup, that's going to be big for us.
Yes, definitely. And as an Australian, admirer of or Australian fan, whom do you think is the most threatening side for you as Australia
For the
in the
World
World
Cup,
Cup? Yeah.
uh, the talent India have, they're very hard to beat. But if there's another couple of teams I want to, point out, South Africa look a very good team. We always talk about them before global tournaments, but that hasn't necessarily been the case the last few years for South Africa. But I feel now they've got a very balanced T20 side. They've got good, hard hitters, and they've got a very good bowling attack. So they're going to be hard to beat. And if you remember last year, they won 4 out of their 5 games in the group stage, but they missed out. They were very, very unlucky. So, um, similar to South Africa, they've got a captaincy problem like Australia. Bavuma. Yeah, so how does he get in the team? Because you see recently how good they've been. They're a good side. I can't write off England as well. They've been a bit under par of late, but I think they've got too many good players to write off. And New Zealand are going to be thereabouts too. I think they're the teams to watch out for in this tournament.
That's correct. And would you like to see or would you like to have Tim David in your side in the
Oh
T20
yeah,
World Cup?
I've mentioned this a couple of times already. Yeah, 100%. Like, I think that's maybe the main missing piece of the puzzle for Australia. Can we get Tim David in the team? You know, I was saying to the guys, like, Steve Smith's position is unclear. Like, we don't know where his best position is. He's almost like a floater. But if we can have Tim David in his place, that just makes us, I think, all the more dangerous. His numbers are insane. Great numbers.
Right, right. And as far as Asia Cup is concerned, which is coming up, so we have just seen Shaheen Shah Afridi has been ruled out,
Yeah.
and even Bumrah will not be available. Who we can say both are the key players in the playing 11 for their respective team. So, how do you see this Asia Cup going around, and whom do you think can win out as the emerging winner for this season?
Yeah, I think even without Bumrah, India's depth looks very good. I want to see Arshdeep Singh play. I'm such a big fan of his. Um, just when you can bowl in the IPL in a tournament like that and bowl in the crunch overs and not get hit for sixes like he does and keep his nerve, you know you're a special bowler. So India have got a very, he's not at the level of Bumrah yet. I'll say that, but they've got a very good bowler that he's experienced in T20 cricket and he's very cool under pressure. And then you've got some other very good seamers there as well. So I believe India are the favourites. They're very good in Asia Cups. They look good. particularly with this new approach. But I like to see how Pakistan go, and I like to see Sri Lanka and Afghanistan how they go as well. I don't have high hopes for Bangladesh. I worry about them in T20 cricket. They haven't nailed it, and I don't think they can beat the big teams in this tournament. But I'm really looking forward to it. Should be good.
That's right. And if I talk about women's cricket, so have you seen this Commonwealth Games in Australia? Like, we can
Yeah,
say are the giant, mighty giant of women's cricket as of
fantastic.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like when
they have.
defeat looks certain with this team. You've got so many players that can step up. I've always said it's the depth of the Australian team. You've got the likes of Ash Gardner or Jess Jonathan or these players down the order that can step up. Like you think you've done the job, taking the first 4 wickets in the power play, but then you've got Ash Gardner and these players waiting in the wings as well. It's like the depth. The depth is something that the other countries need to try and match because, India have got a few good players, but they don't have the depth that Australia do. And that's the same with the other countries as well. But someone asked me, doesn't this get boring to watch Australia win all the time? I'm like, no, it never gets boring. I experienced it with the men's team about 15, 20 years ago. And that hasn't been the case as such over the years. But yeah, as the women's team doing well, we just enjoy every moment of it.
That's right, and we hope to be the close competitor in the women's game, especially for us, Australia. And definitely,
Yeah,
India is at the right path. So, hope to see India giving the tough fights to Australia. So, that's
100%.
what we hope.
And you know what? India are already doing that. You're already giving us a tough fight. In both games in the Commonwealth Games, you probably should have won those games against Australia. So
Definitely.
you're pushing us all the way, and it happened even last year when you guys toured Australia. You should have won a couple of games there as well, but just fell short at the end. So you're getting close. And I think if India can continue to build that depth, the women's IPL, I think starting next year, that's going to be massive as well for Indian cricket in the women's game. So big potential there.
So, Chabala, I will take you back to Border Gavaskar series that happened last time around in Australia.
Why?
In
Why?
because not on because we won it, that one reason, and there was an important debate that occurred after that in Australia there was discussions that number of teams to be increased from 6 to 8 or 12 because more players will get in the opportunity. So has something started on those lines or only still current structure? I think it's only 6 teams as of now.
Is this for Sheffield Shield you're talking about?
Yeah, Sheffield Shield. I want to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, probably not. I think it's going to stay the way it is at the moment. Just the talent pool in Australia probably caters for just the 6 teams at this current stage. That's what I would say. I think more importantly than the number of teams is the quality of the pitches that we've got to get right in our domestic game. And then the issue is, and it's a problem for the Big Bash as well. We've got the Big Bash on when the tests are happening, so the players aren't getting red ball cricket when the test cricket is happening, and that's a problem because our season starts and then stops for the Big Bash and then starts again after the Big Bash. So it's a bit disrupted. But I think first and foremost, the pitches. There's a lot of drop-in pitches at the moment in Australia. Over the years, you've had Sydney that spun, Perth, pace and bounce, Brisbane, pace and bounce, Adelaide on the flat side. So when you're playing Sheffield Shield cricket, you get a taste of all conditions. And it hasn't necessarily been the case maybe the last 5-10 years. So you're not able to produce as many players who can play in different conditions. That has to be something we sort out because when you go away to India, you're going to have to be able to play spin and very good spin. So, and we need to encourage bowlers to bowl spin here in this country too. We've got a lot of pace bowlers, but we need spinners. So that's something to consider for the administrators.
Hi, Chaval. My question is, who will be third spinner for India in the Asia Cup in away condition and also ICC Men's T20 World Cup in Australian condition? Do you think India is Ravi Bishnoi like and Ravi Ashwin?
Yeah, you probably have Yuzvendra Chahal, Jadeja, or you probably go Ashwin, I'd say. You probably go Ashwin to start off with. Experience. But I'm a massive fan of Bishnoi. I think he's a very good bowler. But you got Chahal there as the wrist spinner, and then you got the two very wily, clever finger spinners there. I think they'll do the job. Yeah, good attack, good spin attack.
So from your side, Adam Zampa and Ashton Runner or other like Chris Green.
Yeah, Ashton Agar would be the second spinner if we were to play second spinner. Because I remember Ashton Agar didn't even get into the team last year, apart from one game. So Zampa for sure, and then depending on conditions, you might bank on your seamers, and then have some spin from Glenn Maxwell there as well. So we'll see how the conditions are.
So as we are seeing now that various leagues are opening up, and it is a big threat that whether international cricket will be able
Yeah,
to survive or league cricket will flourish. So what's your take on it? Because each country wants to extend its cricket economy now, and league seems
yeah,
to be the way. So what's your take on this point?
that's what it is. It is like T20 leagues are starting to come up, and international cricket's under some threat. Like I'm actually running a poll for fans to have their say on what they think the future of cricket looks like. Because for me, something has to give. Like you're trying to fit so much that fans are going to now pick and choose what they want to watch. And one day international cricket, I think, is the one under the biggest threat because there's not a lot of context around that format of the game a lot of the time. And you're just squeezing it all in. And it's, you look at Ben Stokes retiring from the format. You've had some other players saying, it doesn't always feel important. And having too much of something doesn't increase its value. It's actually the opposite. When you've got so much going on, players are now going to pick and choose what they play. So the international game might suffer as a result because you've got the best players not available anymore. I think there might be a situation where one format is lost. It could be the one days or it could be T20 internationals. I don't know, but something's got to give. I don't think it can stay this way for the next 10, 15, 20 years when T20 leagues are just going to keep skyrocketing. And possibly other formats too, who knows? And then you've got one days, just put in there. Like England played last month, they played like 12 or 13 white ball games in 25, 26 days. That's asking a lot of the fans to follow all that. That's asking a lot of the players. So something's got to give eventually. And I think that the way cricket is going is towards that franchise league. But how do we make sure that international cricket is still valued? That's important. It's to provide context around all the matches and not leave formats behind. So that's going to be the key.
Maybe bilateral series go down and World Cups
Yeah.
will
If we
happen, something
can
like
get
that.
bilateral series going down, the reason why I'm really looking forward to this Asia Cup, the T20 internationals, a T20 international bilateral series is okay, cool, but you've got an Asia Cup, a tournament. It's a lot more interesting, isn't it? There's a format to it. There's competition. There's a trophy at the end of it to lift at the end of a tournament as well. I miss a lot of the tri-series and the quadrangular series from over the years in one-day cricket. That was very interesting. Provided a little bit of a different spin on the contest. So if we can do more of that, that'd be great. But yeah, it's the rise of the T20 leagues. You can't ignore it, and we've got to figure out a way to keep the international game alive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So T20 cricket is here to stay, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt
And
about
now
it.
I think one more thing, ICC has also now failed to develop the game. I also feel there are still same old nations you see. Though I
Yeah,
know Ireland has got the test status, but Afghanistan has got the test status. But how many games they have played against the top sides? Hardly any. So they have also, in a sense, failed to develop the game, bring new nations. So that has been the big, I think, failure on part of ICC. Still you see technology rules, still there is so much confusion even in DRS, whether
yep,
sometimes ball is hitting and not. So they have not been able to clarify the things as such. So
yeah.
this is, and I think now league cricket will dominate during in the upcoming future. Now coming back to Australian cricket, they have been doing so well. What do you think is the basic reason for it? They have been exceptional. I think they won the first World Cup in '87, and after that they are just winning and winning. Even if they are not winning, they are running everyone very close. Either they
Yeah,
are in semi-finals, quarter-finals. They I don't remember a 50-over tournament where they have been knocked out quite early in the. So they are
yeah,
competing. So
yeah.
what do you think is the basic reason for this? Is just quality of players or something else?
Quality of players, but also the mindset. There's a mindset of winning in this country. We're proud to do our best and have a go. The mantra is you give it your best shot, and the talent will come through as well. So it's a winning culture. Sometimes it's gone too far, as we saw in Cape Town all those years ago. You know, we wanted to win, but we crossed the line. But there's always that culture in Australia of we're the best, we want to dominate, and we want to win. That's how it's been for many years, and hopefully it continues.
Absolutely.
I
Australia
must
is
say,
on
I
the
must say,
dominating.
I must say, it'd be very tough if India get their act together across formats as well. You've got all the potential in the world to dominate all three formats. If I'm honest, I think that's why those defeats in South Africa and England would have really hurt because you've got very good batting, but you've also got terrific pace bowling now. That's not what India had 10 years ago plus. So I think if India get their act together, it'll be tough for Australia to maintain that sort of winning run in international cricket. But as long as we fight hard, we'll always be thereabouts. I think.
Just off little recently we heard that Ian Chappell would not be commentating now.
Yeah,
So one word on the great Ian Chappell. I think he was just
yeah, yeah,
brilliant. I
yeah. I
think.
sort of tweeted when I heard the news, and I said, "Look, Ian Chappell was one who's divided opinion. He wasn't, someone that everyone liked or everyone agreed with. But I loved listening to him talk because I believe he was one of Australia's best captains, if not the best, because he had a mindset of attack, mindset of winning. He was always thinking, how can the captain organise his field or get a set of bowlers on to take wickets. It was all about taking wickets. He hated defensive captaincy, and I think that's something that I really enjoyed in his commentary and his mindset. So I really miss that. It feels like a really end of an era as well. Like we had all those legendary commentators on Channel 9 all those years ago, and yeah, it just feels like a bit of an end of an era. But yeah, great commentator for me and a great captain, and I'll miss listening to him.
So my question is one word about Meg Lanning. She has a Commonwealth champion and World Cup champion, T20 World Cup champion.
Awesome. Yeah. That's the one I'd say. She's very cool customer, Meg Lanning. You never see her flustered. There's been some situations the last couple of years where the team's been challenged by the likes of England and India, but she's always been cool under pressure, and as has the team. When you've got a cool captain, that rubs off onto the team. If your captain is panicking, the team's going to panic. So she's been very good, and I think she's taken a break from cricket now. That's well deserved, and then she'll come back stronger.
Okay. One. Uh, Chaval, any youngster from Australian domestic, one bowler and one batsman, you are seeing a good future of him.
Yeah, I was saying earlier, I think the Queensland, I'm a traditionalist. I love, solid red ball openers. Bryce Street is one to watch out for going forward. I like him. Bowlers, trying to see who would someone not know of to come through the ranks. Ooh. I have to think about that one. Who would people not know that to come through in New South Wales? I'll have to think about that. I might come back to you if a name comes to my mind.
I'm sure
So
there will be many, so that's why you are getting a difficult time to choose one.
Yeah. There's a few because I know if quite a few are well known. That's how it is these days. You've got. I think Nathan Ellis is a very good red ball bowler as well, but a lot of people know about him already. So I'm trying to think of someone that teams or other countries might not know about yet. That as a bowler to say, yeah, he's looking good. I mean, look, there's one leg spinner from New South Wales, Tanvi Sangha. Don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's he's a good leg spinner. He's got good potential. He's very young, but he's represented Australia at the junior level, and he's representing New South Wales at the moment. He's played for Sydney Thunder in the Big Bash. So when you think about spin, he's a good prospect for us going forward. So fingers crossed he does well.
Chavala, just one question. There also we had a lot of stories about Zimbabwe cricket was very good in past, but what do you think? What happened recently with him that they are not able to take wickets? They are not performing that well that were doing in their past. So, what do
Yeah,
you think is the reason behind that?
it's really sad because I think it goes beyond just the cricket in Zimbabwe. I think politics got involved a lot. I was doing some reading up recently about, the story of Andy Flower in the 2003 World Cup. I think him and Henry Alonga, they wore black armbands because they said Zimbabwe politically is just, there's no democracy kind of thing. Politics got in the way and it ruined the cricket in Zimbabwe. It was really sad because they had a great team. They had a very good team, 20 years ago or thereabouts. So I think, and then, the board has struggled financially. There's been, people in the cricketing board that have not served the interests of Zimbabwe cricket, but rather the interests of themselves. They have not served Zimbabwe cricket properly, and that's affected the on-field performance. It's affected their cricketing structure. So until they get their act together from the top, then Zimbabwe are always going to be producing one or two good moments every long while, but nothing consistent. But in saying that, it's good that they're getting some exposure now against India, and they'll play Australia next week, and then they've got the World Cup. So I hope they do well in that. But long term, Zimbabwe from the top down, they've got to improve their whole cricketing structure and everything like that. Otherwise, they're not going to go forward the way they should.
Mm.
Now, Chapel, I take you towards Ashes. Australia is doing very well whenever England is traveling to Australia. But off late, they have drawn various series in England, but they've not been able to win the series in England. Now, do you think James Anderson is about to go? When, though we don't know, but it is expected to go out soon. So, do you think now best opportunity lies ahead whenever Australia travels next time?
Yeah,
Because England
possibly.
team is phasing out now.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, England do have some good bowlers coming through as well, so it won't be easy. When they're going to offer up conditions that are going to be challenging for batting. We haven't always batted well, apart from, say, Steve Smith the last series, and Marnus played well too. But other than that, we weren't great with the bat last series. And if you remember, James Anderson didn't play that series. He was injured the first few overs. Jofra Archer came in. So if he's fit in the next Ashes, then that's going to be a big challenge. So in England now, they're playing with a lot more confidence. I know they lost that test against South Africa, but you've got McCullum there who wants to implement a particular style of play. So it's going to be an opportunity to win England, but I don't think it'll be easy. When they say Australia should do it or it'll be easy, I don't agree with that. We're going to have to play very well to win there.
So, which Ashes series has been your favorite thus far? I am sure you must have watched many.
Yeah. I love the 2006-7 one because we responded to the 2005 one and won brilliantly. But
Five
my
mil.
favorite, my favorite, even though we lost, 2005 was the best series. Even though Australia lost it, it was unbelievable cricket. I was 11 or 12 years old at the time, and I had school the next day, but I didn't want to sleep. It was that good. And my dad was saying, Australia have dominated for so long that Test cricket got a bit boring, but that was the series that kept him up at night because it was so interesting. It was enthralling. So I think that's my favorite. Yeah.
So now, are you excited to play England again after their all baseball theory and all?
What was that? Sorry?
Are you excited to play again with England, considering new baseball approach that they have brought in?
Yeah. Again, that'd be really interesting. I'm excited for that. The improvement they've shown this summer, it's surprised me. I didn't expect them to beat New Zealand the way they did, to beat India. And when Australia come around, England are going to fire up. There's no doubt about it. So it's going to be a very exciting series. And it could be similar to the 2019 one where that was so exciting as well. So it should be really good.
I think after
One question.
the way Australia thrashed England in the recently concluded Ashes series, they have just gotten with their new baseball approach. So it will be very exciting to
Yeah,
see
yeah,
how they come up with new approach in the coming Ashes
yeah.
series. So
I
we are
think,
very eagerly
yeah,
waiting for that series to happen.
I think here in Australia, England rarely do well. They haven't won here in over 10 years in a test match. The last test match they won here was 2011. They struggle here in Australia. That's never changed, over the years. But in England, it's a different story. It should be really interesting.
So one question: what your favorite legendary spinner, Shane Warne? So what about your memorable moments for Shane Warne in the cricket history, like and like Ashes, World Cups, and Sachin Shane Warne rivalry?
Yeah.
So what is your
Yeah, I still can't believe, to be honest. That's something that hit us all very hard. Warney, I think it's not just only one moment with Warne, it's his overall mindset. It's like this guy was so good, but he had the mindset as well. He had the mentality. He said, I want to always find ways to get wickets. But he was so clever in the way he did it. Like there was an example. He bowled a ball to Daryl Cullinan in 1994. This is one of my favorite Warne moments. So he bowls, and the thought process behind it is incredible. So he bowls a short wide ball or a short ball that turns away. Cullinan cuts it for four. Very easy shot. 4 runs. But Warne's thinking to himself, okay, you have your four, but I'm going to get you. So what he does, he bowls a flipper that lands in just about the exact same spot. Cullinan thinks, here we go again. I'm going to cut this. And it bowls him. And he's too late on the shot. Like it's that genius of Warne to think, I'll give you the boundary if that means I'm going to get you out the next ball or a bit later. He was always about setting up the batsman. And what I loved about Warne is he hated conceding singles. He would rather concede the boundary so he can bowl a few deliveries in a row at one batsman and try set him up and get him out. So he was just brilliant. His performances in the 99 World Cup in the semi-final, Australia would not have won that tournament if it wasn't for him. South Africa were on top. South Africa were on top in that semi-final, and he turned it around. He got the team behind him. And then as well, his performances in 2005 Ashes, some of the deliveries he bowled throughout his career, of course, the ball of the century as well. There'll never be another Shane Warne. We'll miss him a lot.
Absolutely right. तुषार सुमन भाई, your question is already taken. थोड़ा पीछे कर लो. अब लोग कोई सवाल है तो पूछ लो. नहीं तो उसके बाद मैं वो वाला कर लूँगा एक्सपीरियंस बारे में. उसके बाद.
So one more question I want to ask Jebel. Australia has given us lots of good captains. I think best leadership we have seen from them. So who, according to you, has been the best captain? Is it Steve Waugh, Ricky Ponting, Mark Taylor, Alan Border, or someone else? Matlab, who is your favorite? All of them are great.
Yeah. Oh, tough one. Maybe the best one I've seen. Well, the best one I think, going back on what he's done and what he's achieved, I think Ian Chappell's right up there as captain. I was mentioning that before. He was superb. He was all about attacking and taking wickets. I'd have Alan Border up there as well. Alan Border took over as a time in Australian cricket where Australian cricket was struggling a little bit. And he took it on his shoulders and helped lead the side. So I've got those two right at the top. Warren, Ponting are great, but I put Chappell and Border right up there at the top. In terms of the best captain I've seen, probably Waugh. Although Ponting was excellent as well because both of them had that winning mentality, playing very tough cricket. But why I've got Steve Waugh is he was a very tough player and he was fantastic in the West Indies in the 1990s. That was a very tough decade for batting. But he's the one that said, we can step up to these guys and win. It was off the back of Steve Waugh. He was fantastic. So Waugh and Ponting, fantastic. And then you've got Border, Chappell. I think they're the elites in Australian cricket.
And I think Pat Cummins has got a very good future ahead. He is a perfect captain, I think. He leads from the front and he has all the good resources. And his team, I think he earns the respect from the team also. Currently, he is the best fast bowler across formats for me. And I think he is going to lead Australia to various victories in time to come.
I hope
I think
so.
a very good
Yeah.
leader. He looks like a very good leader.
I will admit, last year when he was announced, I was a bit worried. Like, how's he going to juggle being the lead fast bowler with the captaincy? I was a bit worried about those two things, but he's been terrific over the last year. So I agree with that.
Ranjay, you were saying something, na? Please go ahead.
No, I was just saying, apart from India series,
So,
Oh yeah,
Chapel,
that's cheeky. He was still very good in that series, Cummins, as a bowler. I think his numbers were excellent, but I think the lack of support at the other end hurt. So
I was
it is
thinking
what it
about the
is.
upcoming series in India.
Yeah, that's going to be hard. That's going to be tough. Like, I think we need to try avoid a 4-0 series defeat to make the World Test Championship final, provided we win our matches in Australia before that. That's going to be a tough series, but I can't wait because that's going to be a great challenge for our team. See how we play spin. Try to be as proactive as possible with the bat, and take the game to India. We did well in India 2017. I think we toured then. We competed. We were right in the series up until the last game. We could have taken a 2-0 series lead in there, but India bounced back at Bengaluru. We won the first test, and then Australia could have easily won the second. And then we fought for a draw. So we took the series deep. So if we can do that again, that'd be really, really encouraging.
Any more questions? Supriya, Vaishali, Diya?
So just
so
before we wrap up, Chapel, I want to ask who are your four semi-finalists for the World Cup, upcoming
Oh,
T20
it's
World Cup?
really, really tough. I can't even remember what the groups are. I have to. Can you give me the groups?
Yeah, Rajay will give you the groups.
I'm trying to remember because I haven't even decided my top four yet. It's too difficult. I don't-
I think India,
But
Pakistan,
we
South
can
Africa
we
are
can
in same
safely put
group.
India and Australia there, right? Chaval?
yeah, I'd say so. I think so. Australia at home and India look good. Like, it's hard to go past them.
So we have to decide the other two.
So I think it's India, Pakistan, South Africa are in same group, whereas Australia, England, New Zealand, I believe, are in the same group. West
Yep.
Indies, I don't know, is in which group. West Indies.
I think West Indies have to
So
qualify. West Indies have to qualify
okay,
first.
okay.
T20 World Cup. I'm having a look at. I want to see the groups. So you've got Group
Let's
A, Group B. Let's start. You've got
uh,
Afghanistan, Australia, England, New Zealand. That's tough because Australia, England, and New Zealand, all three of them are good enough to qualify. But I got Australia and England in that if I had to pick now. And then Group 2 is hard because South Africa look good too. I don't know. India
Be
and
this
South
one.
Africa. If I had to predict now, if I had to say now, I think Pakistan relied too much on their opening combination. That's one thing I'd say about them, Rizwan and Baba. And South Africa, maybe, they look confident. But yeah, if I had to say now, Australia, England, India, South Africa. But I'm not 100% certain yet. That's my draft pick. It's not my final. It's not my final.
so
Yeah.
Chebel, as you know, 92 was the World Cup in which South Africa came back, got the wicket on the first ball, but was never given out by the umpire. If you remember, Jeff Marsh was out caught. So now, do you think their time has come finally to get
Oh,
to a world tournament? I think so. They
there's a,
deserve to win a one.
look. As I said before, they look good this year in the T20 format. They've got they've got a good side. Maybe an issue is the captain and Bavuma's role in the team and how he performs. That's probably one area I worry about. But look at their pace attack and the hitters that they've got in their team. The cock at the top, Markram. You got these youngsters like Tristan Stubbs coming through. There's this Brevis as well that hasn't played for South Africa yet, but how good is he? So South Africa got good talent in their ranks, and they're going to be hard to beat as well in this tournament. So it's very interesting World Cup. It's going to be.
Absolutely.
Like,
Before
who
we
would
wrap
you
up,
pick? Like, I want to pose a question to you guys. Like, if you had to pick between India, Pakistan, and South Africa for two spots, that's tough, isn't it? Like, because all three are very capable. And the same with the other group, Australia, England, New Zealand. There's going to be some good cricket there. So hopefully the weather's good and there's no rained out games because you're going to get some great clashes.
mm,
I just only have one opinion, but I do respect Pakistan a lot. But I think their game plan is quite predictable. Matlab, their openers, they need, if their openers fail, matlab, then their side open, matlab, their side is quite, they have a particular pattern that they want the game to go ahead. If
I think
that
I agree
pattern
with
is
you.
if that pattern is disturbed, now then they look a very ordinary side. If Shaheen says just if he doesn't bowl well with the new ball, if they do not have wickets in power play, then they really struggle to contain. So now everything for them is dependent on the how they start off with the ball and the how they start off with the bat. If anything if any one of those departments falter, they end up chasing the game totally. So that is the only problem that I have with them. Okay, once if they lose 2 wickets in the power play, it's game over for them. And similarly, if they don't strike with the new ball, it's game over for them. So they do not have a second gear or any
Yeah.
other backup plans to come back. That is the only flaw which I see
Yeah.
in them. Nothing wrong. They have a good side, but that is the only thing which I feel is pushing them back currently.
No, I agree with you there. I think that opening combination, they rely a lot on that. So they need to figure out their middle order quickly. Yep.
and their last T20 win in Australia was very in past. Like their current team is not get any win in Australia T20 win. My last question, I think, Travel. How was your experience on Sports with Bros? You enjoyed?
Oh, I've
And
loved it. Yeah, it's been great. Like we've talked for nearly an hour, but it hasn't felt like an hour. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
thank you for coming and giving a valuable time.
We really
It's
love
really
your company.
We look forward to see you
Thanks.
again and hopefully
Love.
get great conversations coming ahead.
100%. Yeah, like I'll be very glad to chat with you guys again. Like we're starting up the Cricblog podcast again very soon, so I'll bring a few of you on as guests as well on that. So we'll stay in touch.
Yeah,
Sure, sure.
thank you. It was
Thank
a
you so much.
great experience for all of us to be with you, and we look
Thank you.
forward to be with you again soon.
Thanks, Chab. Thanks, Chab.
Thank you, guys. Great experience for me too. Thank you, and keep doing what you're
Thank
doing.
you.
Good on you.
Thank you.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
thank you.
Bye.